to do something. Then he writes this. He said, if that were the end of my story, I would still have the feeling of commitment in giving back to God, which would be enough to make it worth it. But that's not the end of my testimony. Since I began my regular giving to Sunlight, I was one of very few non-tenured teachers at my school asked back for another year. Furthermore, I'm closing on my first house, which is appraised over $60,000 more than what I'm paying for it, and my monthly payment is only $30 more than my rent was. Somehow, I had enough money for all the initial expenses in buying a house and the down payment. In addition, I could afford a beautiful new bass guitar, and I started dating the most amazing girl I've ever met. She's here today. She's smiling. It is too easy to chalk it up all to coincidence. Maybe I just had a lucky 6 months, perhaps. But I don't believe that that can be all of it. I've been blessed beyond reason. I know in my heart that it is only through the grace of God that my life could be as wonderful as it is. For that reason, I'm going to make sure my contributions to the church reflect that I feel that way. No matter what steps down or up that are coming my way, I know that I am taken care of by a God who loves me regardless of how much I put in the plate each month. But to me, that's the kind of God worth giving for. Renewed in faith and finances, Jason Palm. Isn't that something? And I remember because Jason actually came up to me after one of those sermons back in January and was like, fine. And when I asked him to give his testimony, he felt a little reluctant, but he said, I can't. He reached his hand in his pocket. He pulled out a check for about $1,500. He said, Scott, I have no idea where this money came from. And he said, I don't know how I can't give my testimony. Just feeling absolutely blessed by God, who supplied his need more than he could ever ask or imagine. One more person, she's actually here today. Vicki Loomis is going to come forward. She also took up the challenge, and I'm going to interview her. So come on up. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. All right, so Vicki, why don't we just start out? Tell everybody where you were at financially at the end of last year.
Well, the end of last year wasn't real good. Not too long before that, I had just finished school, and it was a huge struggle for us to get me through school. Then about Thanksgiving, my husband was informed that his plant was going to close from Thanksgiving through the new year and possibly may not reopen. At the end of the layoff in January, he did finally get to go back to work, but it left us pretty far behind. We were a month behind on our mortgage, and we were a month behind on one of the vehicles.
Okay, so it was a little bit of a tough time, and then you heard these sermons, and tell me kind of what went through your mind.
Well, as I was sitting here that morning when he handed out the cards that we saw on the screen, a number came in my head, and I kind of looked up and said, are you serious? And I said, that's 4 times more than what we're giving now. There's absolutely no way. You can't be serious. And that number just kept playing over and over and over in my head. So I finally said, fine, I'll do it. I'll do it. It can't get any worse. I'll do it. So 6 months later.
Okay. And one of the things you mentioned to me, one of the first challenges that you faced was that you were here by yourself that morning and had to go home and talk to your husband.
I did. That was a big challenge. And I went home that morning, and I wasn't quite sure how he was going to take it. And I said, in service today, Scott was kind of talking about increasing tithings. And I said, this is the number that God's asking me to give. And I was really nervous. And he said, well, who am I to go against what God's saying? If that's what God's telling you to do, do it. And I kind of said, okay.
Okay, so that was 6 months ago. Fast forward 6 months, you kind of heard this challenge, and what's happened since?
Well, we're definitely caught up on the mortgage. We're caught up on the vehicle payment. We've put money in savings. We've gone on a vacation. We've paid money back on student loans. It's been great.
And what do you attribute all that to?
Faith. I mean, just by saying I have nothing to lose. There's nothing else I can do but turn to God and give to Him. And by doing so, we have been so blessed. And not only just with finances. I mean, the finances are definitely better. Our marriage is better. Just things in life seem to be so much better. My job's going really well. His job's going really well. It just seems that it's just been an all-around blessing for everything.
That's great. Now, she mentioned to me a story about a refrigerator, so why don't you share that too?
A couple months back, our refrigerator broke, and we're kind of looking at each other going, what are we going to do? I mean, these things aren't cheap. What are we going to do? And joking with him, I said, the hard part's going to be telling God I can't pay him this month. And the very next day, we got a letter in the mail from the Maytag stating that there was a recall on our refrigerator, and the repairman came out, fixed the part, and within 2 hours, the refrigerator was blowing ice cold.
How about that?
It was amazing.
How about that? That's great. And just kind of talk about what all of this has done for your faith, because, I mean, you were starting from a spot where you were behind on bills and didn't know how you're going to make it financially, and then made a decision to start giving. It seemed crazy at the time,
and now especially being that far behind, saying, okay, let's quadruple our tithings when we're already this far behind. And it did seem really crazy, but it has just strengthened my faith so much, knowing that God's going to take care of you no matter what. And between the refrigerator and being caught up, and when you log online and see your bank account, there's actually money in it. It's such a reassuring feeling, and it's God always saying, I told you I would take care of you. And it has just been such an affirmation of my faith, and my faith is so much stronger now because of it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but to me, these are the kinds of things that you just say, wow. I mean, here are people who just stepped out, being in a bad place financially, and says, I'm going to start giving, and just had their faith confirmed in amazing ways. And I hope it does for you what it does for me. It just gives you the sense like, yes, God is real. He's at work in our lives. We can trust him. And, maybe one of the things that Vicki mentioned to me, she said that in getting started, one of the things when she said, well, I have nothing to lose, that she was thinking about is her mother's testimony in starting this before. And maybe today one of these testimonies from Jason or from Vicki might just cause that little, okay, they trusted God and look what happened. They tested him. And see how he opened the floodgates of heaven and poured out so much blessing, they don't even know how to express it. He'll do that for you too. We serve this great God who withholds nothing from us. He's trying to mold and shape us to become more like him so that we'll be giving like he is. And even in the area of finances, which is for most of us, it's like the toughest area of our life. This is one of these days where hopefully you just had this sense like, yes, I can trust Jesus Christ with every part of my life.